Hi everybody, welcome to the other side. I'm Dr. Okun for those who are watching for the first time. And today I just want to I was going to talk about my history and how I got to be a chiropractor and where I came from. It's interesting because coming out of high school, I really wasn't a great student. I was interested in girls and sports. It was my only two hobbies, I guess two things that I really cared about at that time. And I really had never any plans to go to college. My dad realized that I was not headed in the right direction when I was 16, and he had an air conditioning and heating business, and he asked me at 16, he says he wanted out, and he said, do you want, it's my business, I'll keep it for another couple of years until you graduate, and then you can come in. And I just told him, no, you're miserable, you don't like what you do, why would I want to do something that I don't like doing? So go ahead and sell your business. I don't know what I want to do, but eventually I'll figure it out. So eventually after high school I moved to Miami, and between Miami, over the next 12 years, between Miami, Las Vegas, California, and Miami, and I went down there and I was a lifeguard for many years in Miami, and my plans for the future were like, what am I doing tonight? That's kind of about as far as I looked forward. And then as I moved to stay in the resort business, I did everything from bartend to run a lounge, to was a bell captain, and then I was a concierge. And when I was a concierge at the Dunes Motel in Miami Beach, and I did okay, I guess. I made some money in my pocket every day because it was all cash from tours and car rentals and the bellman. And that night I'd go out and I basically would stay out until I didn't have any money left, and the next day I'd go to work and have a little bit more money in my pocket. And I realized, I guess when I realized that I was probably 23, and I was 23 and I was a concierge at a motel and a hotel in Miami, and the next door was a guy that was 52, and he was doing the same job I was doing. And what happened was, I looked, not that it was wrong, but I said, man, if I'm up here at 52, I really feel that I've kind of missed out what I really need to be doing. So it made me look at things a little differently, where I decided to go to school. So I started to go to school at night, and I took one class at a time, and I figured I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I'm in the hotel restaurant business, so I might as well go for the hotel and restaurant field. So I did that. I went to night school for quite a few years, and I had a law class, and it's interesting that someone that you don't really know really well could have a real impact in your life by something they say. And we had this teacher, and what he said was, you should plan your career in 5-year increments. So look at what you're doing, and if it's taking you where you want to go, that's a good path. If it's not, you have to evaluate that. So I did, and I looked at it and I said, well, I'm going to come out of Florida International University, which is a very good school for hotel and restaurant management. And everybody, Marriott, Hilton, you name it, all the big chains will want me because I have a lot of years experience, and now I have a degree. And I looked at it and said, gosh, I don't really want to do any of these things anymore. I've done them all. And it's like, I'll get a job from Marriott and they'll put me in as an R&B manager or a front desk manager, and it's like, I just had no interest in doing that. So fortunately, I met a gentleman who used to play basketball. I played a lot of basketball growing up all my life. And my friend Lee, who played at the University of Connecticut, we used to play ball all the time. We were out one night, and I asked him, and he was a chiropractor, and I respected him, and I didn't know anything about chiropractic. And I asked Lee, I said two things to him. We were out. I said, Lee, does what you do work? So I knew nothing about chiropractic. He says, it's wonderful. You can really help a lot of people. And then two is, I said, do you like it? And he said, yeah, I love doing it. So I talk about a leap of faith. I just said, okay, I'm going to be a chiropractor. I didn't realize what I was getting into. I was a good student for hotel and restaurant business, but now I have to switch to all sciences, which I have no background for. So my next year, my life was miserable. I switched and I took all these classes. I had to take physics, I had to take calculus. Well, I didn't take calculus. I had to take physics, organic, general chemistry, and anatomy and physiology is what I was lacking to get in chiropractic college. So my friend said, you're smart, you could do it. So I signed up for anatomy, physiology, and physics, and I went down to the different school, and they said, well, you can't sign up for physics without having trig and calculus. And I said, well, I don't want trig and calculus, I just need physics to get in where I'm going. And they said, well, the registrar's office can't do that, but you can go talk to the teacher. So I went and found a teacher, and he said, son, it's your money. If you want to fail, that's up to you. I'll sign in. So I signed in, and I took all these classes, and I started going to school, and I was still working full-time and going at night. And I went and And I went and started going to classes, and 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, all the classes announced we're having tests. And here I am sitting in the back of the room like, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but when you don't even know how to ask a question that you're so lost, it was like they were speaking Latin. So I immediately started to panic. I called my sister and I asked her for advice, and her advice was, you need to quit work and start studying all the time. So I went the next day to my hotel and I spoke to the owner of the hotel who I'd worked for many years, and I said, Mr. Miller, good news is that I'm embarking on a different career. Bad news is I have to leave, and I can't give you any notice, but I have to leave today. And he was real proud of me because he kind of watched me grow up, and he says, Lewis, I'm proud of you. Go do what you need to do. So I then called my friend Lee and said, I got to give up my apartment. Can you rent me a room in your house? And Lee said, sure. So I moved into his house, and over the next month I studied 18 hours a day and was miserable from a pretty healthy social life to sitting in a chair reading this chemistry book over and over and over and over again. It was a big wake-up call. But the big wake-up call for me was that anybody could do anything that they put their mind to. Needless to say, I passed all my tests and I went on and matriculated to Life Chiropractor College, where I met my wife, Dr. Lori, and it was all because I made a decision along the way that changed the path that I was on. And then I just looked at it. I will do whatever it takes to get there. So I knew, and I'm certainly not a non-intelligent person, but I'm not the best student. And all I know is that anybody, if I could do that, anybody could do anything they set their mind out to. And that's what I kind of learned from the whole thing, is that there's no excuses. It's all about how much you want something and what are you willing to do to achieve the things that you want. And that's what I learned. I was willing to do whatever it took, and I worked really hard at it, and that's kind of my story, how I got here, which is, if my parents were worried, they knew I was on a different direction at different times, but my path had to be my path. I wasn't ready for college after high school, and if I would have, I would just have failed out, which I did do, actually. I went to Union College for a minute. I took one semester, met a girl, and played basketball all day, and withdrew from every class. The only reason I would go there because I was home for a couple months, and my parents said, you either got to go to school or go to work, and I wasn't ready to go to work. And I could go to school for free because my mom taught in the county, so school didn't cost them anything, but I wasn't ready. So when I was ready, I paid my way, and the rest be told, you just do how it all worked out. But that's kind of my story. It's kind of entertaining. My life has been entertaining, but I wouldn't trade how it all happened for anything, because it's all the things that happen to you end up making you who you are, and that is kind of how I developed. But I want to thank everybody. I love you all. We'll see you next week on the other side.